Good afternoon, everyone. It's Dr. Gershon with another Endeavor BetterHealth webinar. I am absolutely thrilled to be here today with a thought leader, a scientist, an incredible person who is passionate about the use of AI in drug discovery and drug development. Um, Petrina Kamya is the global head of AI platforms and the VP of Insilico Medicine and president of Insilico Medicine Canada. We're here today at a very, very exciting time because we just came off of the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, which was an incredible opportunity for networking and collaboration and partnering and talking about big ideas and bringing people together to really do things and drive results. But before introducing you formally to Petrina, I really want to take the opportunity to thank everyone. It was an incredible 2023 and an amazing start to 2024. We now have 1.5 million views on our webinar, approaching 2 million with our media partners. And we have really the audience to thank and the speakers to thank. The speakers like Petrina have really brought amazing content to Endeavor and the Better Health webinar series. We launched our Iconic series at JP Morgan, which is a series now that will include live broadcasts from iconic venues, such as the JP Morgan conference in San Francisco every January. So this is really an opportunity to, at the beginning of the year, look forward and really reach out to everyone. If you have ideas or suggestions about great leaders, great companies, please contact me at endeavor@gershoncapital.com, and we will incorporate your ideas as best we can. For today, I encourage everyone, please log in. Please put your email and location where you're logging in from. If you have a question and we don't get to it today, we'll be more than happy to send you an email response. So now I'd like to introduce you to Petrina, who is a remarkable scientist and leader in, I think, one of the most outstanding AI companies in the world, Insilico Medicine. Petrina, thank you so much for being here today. It's an extension of a really terrific conversation that we began just a few days ago at JP Morgan, and a continuation really of the relationship that Endeavor and Insilico have been building since the fall of last year. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Martin, and thank you so much for being such a fan of Insilico Medicine. We really appreciate your endorsement and your belief in our company.
Well, I think the things that you're doing are really what are driving my enthusiastic support. So let's talk about a little bit about yourself. If you could give us a short background about your scientific background and the work that you're doing, and then I think we'll flip into, what did you see at JP Morgan in terms of the changes that are going on in AI and biotech and drug discovery?
Sure. So I'm a computational chemist by training. My education has primarily taken place in Montreal, Canada, where I received my PhD and my bachelor's degree in biochemistry and computational chemistry, respectively. And I've been working in the space of computer-aided drug discovery for, I'd say, the last 15, 16 years. So I've really seen the transformation in the adoption of this type of technology in drug discovery and development, and the impact that it can make from very early days to what it is now today, where now we're leveraging deep learning techniques and artificial intelligence to help accelerate the process, design better molecules, identify novel targets, and sort of try to predict the outcomes of clinical trials. Those are the three main pillars that I work in Insilico in terms of developing AI-driven tools. And one of the things I love most about working at Insilico is the fact that we develop the tools and then we also use them internally to develop our own pipeline of therapeutics. So I get to see both the development of the technology, its application, and then what can come out of it. This is a very unique position to be in from a learning perspective, and also just from the perspective of being able to see the impact that a technology can have on the health outcomes of patients, which I think is relevant to your topic, your webinar, for your webinar series. And yeah, it's very relevant to what I want to achieve as a human being on this planet.
That's just a tremendous overview. We do align in our conversations about the importance of building strong teams to drive results,
Mm-hmm.
which of course means great leaders, great collaboration and partners, the ability to bring all of the necessary skills from different points of view, from a diverse background of scientists and leaders, business people, physicians, clinicians, everybody really bringing a voice into a very, very complicated process of drug discovery and drug development. So I would love to dig a little bit deeper into what I see in silico medicine is really an outstanding team that can drive results. And what you have seen in terms of the changes now in the landscape of AI drug discovery, drug development, compared to just a year or two or three ago, where we were talking about what could be. And now we're talking about what is happening, what is live, and what is moving the needle. Results are the name of this game. And so I would love to dig a little bit deeper into this incredible pipeline that you have developed, and a look towards other companies that you've seen in the JP Morgan environment to see what they're doing in terms of their teams and their results.
Yeah, sure. So I think what is key to a successful team is having a blend of three types of characters. You need to have the innovator, you need to have someone who can execute, and you need to have someone with the experience in the space who knows what it means to get a drug from an idea to market. And we have those three sort of character types at Insilico Medicine, which has led to the development of the technology. So you have the ideas, and then someone who executes on the technology, and you have someone who is in charge of our assets, who has experience in terms of taking assets to the clinic. And these are led by our two CEOs, Alex Shevronkov on the innovation side, and then we have Dr. Feng Ren on the R&D pipeline side of the business. And I think that that's something that is important in order for us to have developed our pipeline of therapeutics and also our software. And what you're seeing more and more in terms of those companies in our space, in AI-driven drug discovery, biotech space, that are successful. They're not just talking about a platform or an idea or a way to get you from point A to point B. They actually have products that they can partner on. So where you have a pharma company that is lacking in some sort of technology, then they can leverage the technology that you have as a product. Or if they're looking to bolster their pipeline, then again, you have a product, an asset that they can license, something tangible that they can add value to their company by partnering with you. And this is something that is new in our space, and something that I think a lot of companies are taking notice of. And if they don't have it, then they're realizing that they need it.
It's just so true. At the end of the day, it's about driving results that have meaning and accretive value for your enterprise and strategic partners.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what we believe is important is sharing this information in an open source platform like this webinar, where an exchange of information promotes ideas, promotes collaboration and partnership agreements to bolster the strength of the team, and finally to drive new products into it. At the end of the day, it's about improving patients' lives.
Mhm.
The only way to do that I know is to commercialize product and then let the marketplace decide what is valuable and what is less valuable. And this marketplace idea really has not really been a part of healthcare in the United States or in other countries for that matter. This is in part driven by some of the barriers within the venture community over the past few decades, which was very much a drive towards building unicorns as opposed to building productive companies.
Mhm.
And I know that one of the things that is important within the in silico medicine environment is the acquisition of new companies. And one of those new companies, Deep Longevity, uh, has been acquired as part of an overall thematic drive within in silico medicine to improve everyone's health and wellness. So this area of thematic development of chronic disease, of better aging, healthier aging, is something that I would love to explore with you because I know that you and the leadership within Insilico are quite passionate about helping patients.
Yeah, definitely. So just a little clarification. Deep Longevity was another company that was acquired separate to Insilico Medicine, but aging is remains at the very, very core of our values and our mission at Insilico Medicine. So it's a topic that is very dear to our CEO, Alex Jevoronkov. Because of its implication in terms of chronic diseases. So we firmly believe, and we're not the only ones, that a lot of chronic diseases stem from aging or are related to aging. And the way we are going after diseases, and this sort of informs, not sort of, it does inform a lot of the targets we go after in our internal pipeline, is by going after a target that is implicated in the hallmarks of aging and in a chronic disease, you have a higher chance of having an impact on the patient's quality of life or the patient's life, because you're not only just going after the disease, you're going after the underlying cause of the disease, which is aging, whether that's cell senescence or fibrosis, any one of the hallmarks. So we tend to identify or go after targets that are implicated in both, with the hope that the drugs that we develop will have a bigger impact on the patient's quality of life or the person's quality of life. And right now we have an asset in phase 2. This is implicated in idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. This is a chronic disease that currently has no cure, but is also implicated in a number of different, the target, in a number of different hallmarks of aging as well.
Well,
So
that's
it's something
terrific.
we're deeply passionate about, yes.
What do you see in the recent journey through the JP Morgan conference? And I know that you went to many events, kind of conferences within conferences during the week. What do you see in terms of the young companies that are moving forward in the AI space, and that change in the landscape? I think is something that we talked about recently. That is moving from a vision of what AI can do to really implementation. And in terms of your field of vision for other young CEO entrepreneurs and founders, what are you seeing out there in terms of major themes for AI in the biotech and other spaces?
Well, I mean, what I've observed is a lot of young companies coming up and sort of trying to mimic the strategy of companies that have been in the space for a long time. So, for example, looking for strategic collaborations where they have a data set or they have a platform that they want to partner on. And my advice would be before you go look for partners, collaborate with maybe an academic lab or another company where you can develop something of value. A case study, for example, that showcases what your platform can do before you go out looking for partners. Because if you can show that your technology or your data set or your platform can actually deliver, you'll have a higher chance of being able to partner with someone. But just coming up with an idea or a technology and saying it works, that's not enough. That's definitely not enough.
Yeah, you're so right. And I want to highlight just a couple of different outstanding groups that really fill that gap. So, you know, I had the good fortune of speaking to Sally Ann Frank, who's the head of Microsoft Healthcare for Startups. Really a tremendous vehicle that has multiple phases in the growth trajectory and the development of these companies. And they take the position that working on projects, building growth strategies, driving the growth and sustainable growth of these companies really is in everybody's best interest. So really an outstanding resource, and I urge all young CEO entrepreneur founders to look into the Microsoft for Healthcare for Startup program. Um, the other program that's really outstanding as well is the Merck program, their digital sciences studio, truly bringing, I think, forward a tremendous number of CEO entrepreneur founders who recognize the importance of driving results, building teams, bringing an incredible business acumen alongside the scientific passion. And so that joining of forces that you talked about before, co-CEOs in your case, co-founders in many other cases, I think is an important lesson to template out success. I believe it speaks to this issue that is embedded in what we're doing in the webinar all year long, which is how do you bring collaboration partners together that are synergistic and accretive? How do you bring those skill sets that you mentioned before in terms of creative, operational, tactical, clinical, scientific? How do you bring that all together? And I think the chance to do that now in 2024 really is very robust. So for me, the JP Morgan conference was very much about finding new collaboration partners, amplifying existing partnerships, looking for ways to bring in, I think, a different mindset to solving these problems, which ultimately leads to the incredible results that Insilico has had in this very robust pipeline.
Excellent.
One of the things I'd like to talk about in a little bit more granularity is the pipeline. So tell me a little bit about this intersection between AI and drug discovery. How can you define for people who are watching, what does AI do for Insilico that is essentially a unique secret sauce that brings together the scientific power of AI to either drive new novel targets or speed the process? I also know that you have an incredible integration with robotics in this process.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps you can talk in a little bit more of a granular and focused scientific way about this intersection between AI, robotics, and drug discovery.
Sure. So we leverage artificial intelligence along many of the different steps in the drug discovery value chain, drug discovery and drug development value chain, starting with the identification of a target. And here we leverage multimodal data to be able to identify those genes that are most implicated in a disease, and as I'd mentioned earlier, also aging. To be able to do that with just simple human intelligence is extremely complicated because you have the disparate data sources, data types, and different signals, and trying to identify those patterns that connect the different key elements in order for you to be able to identify those dual purpose targets is something that we leverage AI for. We have integrated robotics into that whole cycle of identifying targets in that once we have a target that's been identified using our Pandomics platform, we then send this information to our robotics lab to validate the hypothesis that certain genes or certain proteins are implicated in a disease. We do this at the enzymatic level, at the tissue level, and once we have that data feeds back into our algorithms and punishes the algorithms if any of the predictions were wrong, or rewards them if the predictions are correct in terms of the implication of a gene in a disease. Once we have identified and validated a target, we then leverage our second pillar of platforms that fall under the Chemistry 42 vertical. And here we leverage generative AI to design small drug-like molecular structures that we then optimize using our reward function. So this is a reinforcement learning platform that cuts out a number of iterative steps in the design and optimization of small molecule therapeutics. And here we save a lot of time and money because we design a lot of molecules, but we optimize and synthesize and make fewer molecules than what is a typical DSTA cycle, which stands for Design, Synthesize, Test, Analyze cycle. I don't know if you're still on, Martin. I'll just pause for a minute.
Well, I think that your description is, an incredible lesson for CEO entrepreneurs about the science behind what you're doing. And I think it's an opportunity really to take a page out of the playbook of Insilico medicine, which is, how do you attract companies like Exelixis, an $80 million upfront deal with the potential for very, very significant milestone payments. You have a recent new transaction and a new deal, which again is, part of the course of this business strategy to be able to license the incredible products that you're developing. So I go back again to, the results that you are driving is really remarkable in such a short period of time. I believe the company was founded in 2016. And so within a very short period of time, how many drugs do you have in the overall pipeline right now?
Yeah, so the company was actually founded in 2014, and it started out as a technology first company. So we were really at the forefront of leveraging deep learning technologies that had been shown to work in other areas, such as image recognition, voice recognition, and just generative design, and applying them towards resolving or trying to resolve some of the challenges associated with drug discovery and development. Once we had built out the technology, we then started to develop our own pipeline of therapeutics. And this was around 2019, 2020. So we've been building out our platform of therapeutics for about 3 years now. We currently have 31 programs, 5 of which are in the clinic. So we have 1 phase 2 program and 4 others in phase 1. And many others, I don't know if you can see them really in the background, at the
Yes.
almost the preclinical IND, preclinical candidate nomination IND enabling stage. And it's those that we're really looking to out-license. And we did recently out-license 2 of our assets, of which you mentioned, one to Exelixis and the other one to Menarini. And our main goal is to continue to partner with companies on the asset side that are likely to take the drugs to patients, to take them all the way to the actual patients.
Now, just so fantastic. I mean, let's just take a 30,000-foot perspective for just a moment. So, the pharmaceutical industry at large, biotech and large pharma, is going through a transformation. Companies like Sanofi are now declaring they are not a pharmaceutical company. They are a digital health company. We have accelerators that are being driven by corporate venture groups. Down in Israel, there is an incredible opportunity now for digital healthcare to intersect with some of the incredible technology in Israel with Pfizer, AstraZeneca. I think if you look at the changes that are happening, this is a result of a real kind of drive on the demand side for growth strategies. And so what I see as very exciting is people like yourself and Alex and others, looking at opportunities because people within the pharma community are hungry for new technologies. And I think part of the secret sauce in this is being able to recognize what does the other party need. So these collaborations and these new licensing opportunities, they're really driving products, into the arms of large organizations, large biopharma that is calling for these. And I emphasize this because as part of the growth of any company, it's quite important to understand, what is it that you're bringing to a strategic partner and what the value of that is. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about the changes over the next 3 to 5 years in terms of the value that large pharma, large biotech are likely to see from AI. What does that mean in terms of the number of new drugs, the quality of these drugs, the impact that these drugs will have on patient outcomes because of the novel quality? These are some of the things that we haven't fully explored yet, but I would love to see in your crystal ball, what the impact in terms of value proposition is going to be for partners and ultimately for patients.
Well, I mean, what I would like to see is more partnering between pharma and or companies that have the capacity to take a drug to the patient. I'd like to see more of those happening, and I think that is what's going to happen because, as we have shown, the molecules that we're producing are of good quality, right? They're being licensed out. Now, we're yet to see one of these drugs make it to a patient, as in, commercialized. Right now, they are in the clinic, they are being tested on patients, but being commercialized. But once we can get that engine going, we should see more robust pipelines in companies that have that budget to take molecules all the way to commercialization. And then less reliance on these companies on the one blockbuster drug here and there that results in these huge, cycles of hiring and firing and restructuring that we tend to see in our industry based on not activity cliffs, sorry, patent cliffs that then, threaten the value of these companies because these molecules are going to go, these drugs are going to become generic, and they're not going to be able to make as much money from the one or two blockbusters. If they have a healthy, robust pipeline of quality molecules, then there's less reliance on that. Another thing you spoke about is the quality of the medication. If we can leverage AI to identify those targets that are strongly implicated in a disease, or partnering with other targets and designing molecules that can go after both targets that are implicated in a disease, we should see better patient outcomes, and that's the hope. So we're yet to get there. I don't think we're too far from getting to all those different endpoints that I've just described. But that to me would be something that I'd really like to see.
I love that big perspective. The notion that the model is changing within biotech and biopharma is super exciting. The notion that we can deliver high quality drugs in a shorter period of time, reduced cost, and that the technology is acting as a tool for this decision making process, I think is absolutely spot on. And as a physician, as a scientist, as a researcher, both basic research and clinical research, I've never in my life seen such incredible opportunities, because I think that we're just beginning to scratch the surface. We're in the prologue of the book about AI and what, creative people with incredible, scientific and medical backgrounds can think of in terms of use cases. I know that many of the things that we're looking at Endeavor are looking for ways to be synergistic to what you're doing. So using AI to develop better clinical trials, improved patient clinical trial fit, predictive value about how well patients are going to not only be enrolled, but be compliant and sustain their place in the clinical trial. There is a host of AI companies that are looking at a really important part of this, which is the quality of the data that comes out as the result of bringing in disenfranchised communities into clinical trials. So all of these things, I think, to me, are super exciting because it's a robust momentum that says, how can we make patient outcomes really the target of all this. So I'd
Hmm.
love to kind of pick your brain a little bit in terms of the things that you're seeing about, some of these things playing into your decision making. I know that I've had conversations, with a number of different groups about, how can they bring in exciting new innovation in-house? How can they build new relationships with early stage companies to be able to enhance, some of their decision making? If you had to guess within the next 5 years, as your pipeline begins to mature and your company begins to grow, and these partnerships with large organizations like Exelixis take root, what do you think some of the needs might be for you, as you are the global head of AI and the platform that Insilico rests on? What do you see as some of the needs that would enhance, the growth of your company?
Well, we have this Pharma.ai platform where the idea was to identify those bottlenecks or challenges associated with drug discovery and development where you can leverage AI. And we're going to continue to do that, to build out tools that you can use to make informed, data driven decisions that will then streamline the whole process and reduce the barrier that these challenges present in the whole process. So we've done a decent job, I think, in terms of preclinical, identifying those steps in the preclinical stages of drug discovery and development. What comes next is the clinical stage, all the way to commercialization, leveraging real world evidence in order to inform the next stage of your drug discovery and development work. So there's so much more to do. I've had the privilege in my career to be involved in early stage discovery work and commercialization. I skipped a few steps in the middle, but there's so many different steps. No, sorry, so many stages in the whole value chain that could benefit from leveraging AI. And those are our challenges, our next steps, and also improving on what we've already developed. But yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
basically.
such great points, and I think a really nice way, to finish this incredibly dynamic conversation with the notion of, where you go in the next phase of development. Certainly, clinical work is, the next step, and then the real world evidence, construct of using AI to really improve decision making. Companies like, for example, I met with at JP Morgan, and had a terrific lunch with the leadership there. Those are organizations that I see as extremely synergistic with companies like Insilico Medicine, combining decision making skill sets. Really, I think is only going to speak to better and better patient uh, um, outcomes, more and more products that I think are going to, really rely upon the integration of real world evidence, the ability to bring kind of novel ideas to the drug discovery, drug development, and finally commercialization process. So I have to say that, in a relatively short period of time, the things that you and Alex and the team at Insilico have done, frankly, is remarkable. If you look at the history of biopharma and biotech, um, it does go through these various types of growth spurts. And I think
Mhm.
we're just in the beginning of this amazing growth spurt. I expect it to be a 10 or 20-year race at the very least. And it's really, I think, a testament to people who look at this tool, which has been around for several decades, and now
Mhm.
finally understand how to begin to use this tool. So, first, I want to thank you for this incredibly deep conversation, these insights from so many different perspectives. It's a very, very talented group of people who are producing real results. I think that in the course of the next 5 years, I'm excited to see about what happens with the pipeline of drugs that you have developed. It's such a robust pipeline. is there anything in terms of kind of final thoughts about, where you expect the company to go, or a shout out to potential partners or collaboration uh, uh, partnerships that would bring some value to Insilico in this journey?
Oh, I would say, yeah, I mean, we cannot do it on our own. And the more people or companies that we have in this space that have the idea or the mentality of making an impact in the space and sort of changing the way we work in drug discovery, the better. And the more likely we are to realize the full impact that AI can have in drug discovery and drug development. So I encourage everybody who is interested in the space to try to learn more and embrace it as a way of helping all of us do better and do more, as opposed to competing. Um, Competing is something that I don't really enjoy in this space. I would rather that we see ourselves grow and be successful as an idea, a concept. So the more, the merrier.
Fantastic. And really, as a closing, you know, uh, kind of thought and somewhat of a teaser, because I would love to invite you back in a couple of quarters to see how things are progressing.
Mm-hmm.
We briefly touched on the area of aging and longevity,
Yeah.
and I know that the team, and particularly Alex, the CEO, is quite passionate about the science. And I
Mm-hmm.
will tell everyone who's listening today that the conversations that I've had with Alex and yourself in brief about aging and longevity have lit a fire under me. So you will be hearing more about this amazing new area of science, which I think is just beginning to really sprout. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the right kind of visual image. And so we can expect over the next 5, 10 years to see exciting new drugs that are going to be enhancing our quality of life, in addition to, I think, curing diseases. So I can't wait for that to be included in your pipeline over the next several years. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I want to thank you so much for all of your thoughtful comments. Are there any last things that you'd like to say to everyone before we leave?
No, just thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your fantastic questions. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next webinar.
Petrina, thank you so much. Everyone here today who's listening, please stay tuned for the series that is going to be, I think, so exciting over the next several weeks. We're going to be bringing you, tremendous information from thought leaders like Sally Ann Frank from Microsoft, from people from Deloitte and other prominent consultancies, from large pharma and large biotech companies, and also from amazing emerging companies that are reshaping some of the incredible things that digital technology is offering us. We will be hearing from companies, from Merck, for example, about an incredible new company called Brainify AI, which is reshaping the way that clinical trials are going to be designed, particularly for mental illness. And we're going to be also talking to people from Click Therapeutics, who are looking at digital therapies as a whole new course of treatment for patients. So it's a tremendously exciting year. Thank you again, Petrina, and a shout out to Alex and everyone from Insilico Medicine. I look forward to seeing everyone soon.
Thank you very much.
Petrina, hang on for a second. I'm just going to disconnect this.
Okay.